On today's show,
he sets a mile record beating New Zealand's Peter Snell, who was the Olympic champion, and Jim's in high school. So just a tremendous athlete. I mean, we started off at the top, Cole. I will tell you that right now. I mean, if there are some records that may not be broken, we might as well start with Jim Ryan.
Greetings, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Kansas Sports Chatter. Hopefully you had a nice, peaceful, and relaxing Labor Day weekend. I think for me, Labor Day weekend's always kind of a mixed bag. While you're always appreciative of that extra day of celebration and less work days for that following week, I think at the same time, like especially for football coaches and then maybe even broadcasters, like coming back on that Tuesday for, depending on how the calendar falls, is usually week one of the high school football season. So then you're coming kind of in a shortened week as you finish up that final preparation and getting ready for a week one game. There's always seems like there's a lot more to do than say like week two or any other week in the season. So it's a shortened, busy, chaotic week, but we are inching closer to the start of high school football season and more of the fall sports in the state of Kansas. Also, I think Labor Day, I feel like they should have, like, if you're going to honor, you give us like one day to honor American labor, like at least make it like so there's more days off of this weekend than there's actually Labor Days. So like you still have a 4-day week compared to having 3 days off. So maybe like 4 days, like a 4-day weekend, something like that. I don't know. We'll work on that. We'll send in some letters to some politicians. Hey, let's look at the lineup for today's show. Darren Erpelding out of Eudora, the head soccer coach. He will be our leadoff question. Rickie Peterson, Acacia coverage staff writer, will be joining us for story time. Trey Teeter, Holcomb football coach. Holcomb had some amazing playoff games a year ago on a remarkable run. Trey Teeter joins us. Great chat with Coach Teeter coming up. Chet Kuplen of Sports in Kansas will be our football chatter. Number of teams and a number of classifications we'll cover with Chet. Jeff Bollig with Kansas Sports Hall of Fame will be back on the show as we'll talk about maybe possibly an unbreakable record in the state of Kansas at the high school level. And Izzy Sandoval, Butler Community College, a member of the women's soccer team and formerly of Newton High School, will be with us for Next Level Talents. Let's get things rolling on today's show. Here is our leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question with Eudora soccer coach Darren Erpelding. Coach, who is the best soccer player you have coached against in high school?
All right, so been a head coach now for 21 years, been doing this 23 years. I'm going to give you 3 from the boys and 3 from the girls, one each from early on, middle, and one more recent, if that's all right.
Sounds good.
All right, so my first one for the boys' side, his name was John Lemon. He went to Maranatha. He was when I was an assistant at DeSoto. And he was an absolute monster up top. He was about 6'3", probably very good with skill, just really good player. The next one, and don't get upset with me on this one, is a kid from Olathe Northwest at about between, I think, 11 or 12, maybe even 13. And his first or last name was Graham. And I actually texted the head coach over there, and he hasn't got back to me yet. But he was absolutely phenomenal. We were actually ahead of him. And this again, when I was at DeSoto, and they're 6A and we're 4A at the time. And I'm telling the kids, we were up 2-1. And I kept telling him to push into his weak foot, which is left foot. Well, he hit a banger with his right foot and he hit a banger with his left foot to beat us in overtime. So he was an absolutely fantastic player. And then the most recent one is from Isaiah Morris, went to KC Christian. He is actually the state leading goal scorer of all time on the boys' side with like 107, I think is what he has. And he was absolutely fantastic. The ball on his foot was just like every time he touched it, it was just right there. And he was really good in the air, great on set pieces, great movement off the ball. And of those 3, he was probably the best of all 3 of them. That I have seen. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of other great players, but those are the first 3 that kind of come to mind. On the girls' side, The first one was from St. James, Rachel Weimer. She was part of when St. James first came in, when they opened up, when they won 2 or 3 in a row while she was there. And they had a great team. Rick Enna was the head coach. He was a fantastic coach. He was great at Maranatha. He actually coached John, and he was fantastic at St. James. And she was stellar. She was so tough to defend. She ended up playing at Missouri State. I don't know what she did after that, but I know that's where she went. The one in the middle, and I took a kind of a hiatus from girls soccer. I went and coached baseball for a while because that's actually what I played in college. And then we came over to Eudora. When I came over to Eudora 11 years ago, we didn't have a girls program until about 8 years ago. We started that. So the next one would have been Jordan Zaid. She was from DeSoto, absolutely fantastic player. I saw her playing club against my daughter. She played at Nebraska, and she is with somebody professionally now. Don't ask me the name because I don't remember who it is. But she could play both sides, mainly a right winger, if I remember right. She's absolutely fantastic. She had a really good career at Nebraska as well. And then the most recent one was Dory. I'm going to say her last name wrong. Leightonser. She went to Miege. Can't remember where she's at now. She is playing college soccer somewhere, D1, but I can't remember off the top of my head where she's at. And she was absolutely fantastic. She's a very dynamic player. And probably the best one of those three is probably Jordan. Again, went on to have a great career, but she was so speed, skill, she had it all. She was an absolutely fantastic player.
That's Darren Erpelding, the Eudora High School soccer coach. I appreciate the time from Darren Erpelding, the head coach of the Eudora soccer team, for our leadoff question. You see some really good players. It was fun listening to him kind of rehash some of those players that he's seen over the years. Obviously, he's had some really good players at Eudora High School, but also exciting to hear him talk about those players that he's had to try to match up on the other side. We'll take a break. When we come back, Rickie Peterson, Acacia covered staff writer, will join us for story time.
The key to a great game is sportsmanship. It is essential to show respect to your opponents, teammates, coaches, and yourself. Playing hard, being fair, and having fun are what sportsmanship is all about. Whether you win or lose, congratulate your team and opponents for their hard work and dedication. Good sportsmanship is about demonstrating integrity, fairness, and respect. Let's show the world what true sportsmanship is all about this season.
Kansas Sports Chatter is not your ordinary sports show. It's fast-paced, has tons of interviews, and is a celebration of all the successes that high school athletics bring us. Hear from statewide guests, the coaches, the players, officials, media personalities, and all the recognizable big names that make high school athletics so great in Kansas. Kansas Sports Chatter, where sports and entertainment collide. Check it out on YouTube or anywhere you download your podcasts. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time for Story Time with Acacia Covered. Rickie Peterson, one of the Acacia Covered staff writers, joining us now. Rickie, appreciate your time. And I know, talking to all you guys, you've been very, very busy getting ready for the new season with your fall previews. But go back earlier this summer, you were able to write a nice story about one of the new inductees for the Acacia Hall of Fame. Who did you cover?
Yeah, I covered Beverly Hire Burney from Grinnell. And, it was just a kind of amazing to learn about her and all she accomplished from 1979 to 83 for the Grinnell Warriors. She across 3 sports, she won 21 state medals across those 3 sports, and 11 of them were first place. Obviously, track was her bread and butter. Won 6 individual state titles on the track. As a senior, she swept the 100, 200, 400. Couple cross-country titles. It was just really exciting to kind of learn, about this legendary career that she had at Grinnell. And then, went on to Barton County and was a 9-time All-American at Barton County, transferred to Division I Wyoming and had a really good first year there before, an injury kind of put a damper on her. But, it was just such a pleasure talking to her. And then, it was, the state track meet is always a huge meet for her and her family. That weekend is one of her favorite weekends of the year. And we'll talk a little bit about this later, but so a couple of things made her story even more incredible that happened around that time, and the way the story kind of concluded that weekend, it would seem like it was just kind of fate.
Well, like just reading your story, a lot of times you can't pick this up, but I don't know if I could pick up it anymore. Was just her pride from being from Grinnell. I thought it came very clear through your story.
Yeah, unfortunately, she went through kind of a terrible tragedy before, but a couple of weeks before the state meet, her family home in Grinnell was destroyed by a tornado that struck on May 18th. She lives and teaches in Buckland now, but her brother was living there. Really tough on her, but like you mentioned, it did reinforce just how much pride she has in her community, because she said, just the support she had from the Grinnell community was amazing, and helping to clean up tornado and all that. And, just that period of time at Grinnell was pretty incredible. I think they scored like 83 points in that track meet her senior year, and to have that kind of star power on a team that practiced on a dirt oval, they didn't always have. Yeah. She said, it was just kind of mind blowing, the success that they had, and another example of that is she had another teammate Hall of Fame, or a few years earlier, Jackie Struckoff, who went on to have a tremendous career at Kansas State. So for two athletes on that team to go into the KSHSAA Hall of Fame, I mean, it just kind of speaks to that incredible talent they had at the time she was in Grinnell.
Hey, Rick, appreciate your time, and good luck this upcoming fall season. I know you'll be busy.
Sounds good. I do want to mention one quick thing that made it special. Her record in the 1A 100 meter dash was broken by Nest City's Tegan Leggett in the weekend while she was in the Hall of Fame. So kind of a fitting end to the weekend to see her record broken.
It stood up for 40-plus years. That was impressive. So, hey, Rickie, appreciate it. That's Rickie Peterson, one of the KSHSAA Covered staff writers. That'll do it for Story Time with KSHSAA Covered. Quality Time interview is next. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Myers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. Welcome back on to Kansas Sports Chatter. It's time now for our Quality Time interview. This segment, we get to talk to our next guest a little bit longer, and that guest, we bring in Trey Teeter. He's the head coach of the Holcomb football team. Trey, appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and this is a pretty neat deal, and excited to see where it goes from here. So thanks for inviting me on.
Well, I know you had a busy summer. You were just telling me that you had a pool day and you got thrown into a pool.
Yes.
But beyond getting thrown into the pool with your team, how do you go about attacking the summer for your off season right before the season starts?
Yeah, summer, especially lately, the last few years has been a pretty hot topic amongst coaches and families and kids. And you're always fighting the battle of how much do you do, and you want them to have a summer as well. And so we really hammer trying to be here 85% of the time. And so we've always kind of said that if you show up to our summer program 85% of the time, we feel like your body is ready for the demands of the sport of football and whatever sport that you're involved in. I shouldn't just include football. We have good attendance numbers across the board for our fall sports. And so we averaged around 65 kids in June and about 55 in July. So June was probably one of our better June months. And then July typically always falls off just a little bit. And I think that's fairly normal for most of your schools in Kansas. You have fair go on, and, we have a lot of other things. Families take vacations. We had some kids go to different camps in July. And so it's just part of it. And you just got to keep encouraging kids to show up and be here when they're in town. And we're pretty fortunate that we probably live in Southwest Kansas. I know some people is not particularly fond of being out in Southwest Kansas because it stinks. We make a lot of money from the cows and stuff, but out here, there's not a whole lot for our kids to go do. You have to travel to Wichita to go play in, MAYB tournaments or baseball tournaments most of the time. And so we are pretty fortunate in that aspect that we have a lot of kids that show up to our summer strength conditioning program. And so we've had a really good summer, both male and female, high school, middle school, and hopefully we'll continue in the right trend for that as well.
I know you're looking forward to this upcoming season, but rewind to last November, a sub-state appearance. Like when you have success like that, do you notice maybe even an increased amount of excitement or enthusiasm going into the next year?
Yeah, 100%. We've talked quite a bit about how success will breed more success. And so we graduated a really nice senior class. We had a great group of kids, and it was a really nice mix of different personalities, and had some of the most unselfish kids that we've had in a while go through. And so really big credit to them. They led us in an appropriate manner. Probably some of the most wildest playoff games that I've ever been a part of. Rock Creek game, we were down 14. Pretty early in the game, and we had, I think, 7 offensive plays for like negative 12 yards in the first quarter. I mean, it was some of the wildest stuff that I've ever been a part of. We kind of had a walk-off pick 6 to finish the game. And so getting to play Andale, that's kind of been the pinnacle of 3A if you get a chance to go play Andale and give them the best shot that you can. And so for us, that was where we ended up being. We were in a semifinal game, got to travel to Andale and played a fairly decent first quarter, and then the game kind of got out of hand. But in terms of excitement, we have some kids going back out for football who haven't played the last few years. So that's a positive thing. We have a real big freshman class. So our numbers in the football program have grown. We were around 40 last year, and we've checked out 55 kids this summer. So definitely, it's definitely exciting. And there's a level of higher expectation, I suppose, that comes into this season, and a really neat experience for us last year.
All right, you mentioned those close games. That's one of the areas I wanted to talk about. Those 3 close games. You look at the 12-7 win against Marysville in that opening round, 21-14, like you mentioned, against Rock Creek, then that 10-7 victory against Scott City. I mean, when people are talking playoffs, Trey, that's what people want to see. Like, they want to see those crazy, really close games. What was it like for you on the sidelines, though, in a playoff scenario in just such a dogfight?
Yeah. So our staff, we have a lot of older coaches on our staff, man. And I kept asking them, we have been a part of some of the wildest games. Marysville, we had the ball inside the 10 there in the first quarter 3 different times, and we didn't score. We went for on 4th down one time and ended up being out of bounds on a pass that could have been a touchdown. We ended up fumbling the ball inside the 10-yard line. And then I think we might have missed a field goal or something. I mean, we had some of the wildest stuff each and every playoff game. I talked a little bit about the Rock Creek game and the ups and downs and everything that was chaotic, during that deal. And then got to play Scott City, which we lost to earlier in the year. We lost to them 9-0 at home and did not play exceptional on offense by any means. Went to their place in the playoffs, and I think we were the only team that scored any points on them in the fourth quarter. And so we actually kicked a field goal to take the lead by 3, and that ended up, how we won the game, kicking a field goal there in the fourth quarter. And so just all of it was a major roller coaster. And we talk about some of those memories and moments that group of kids got to create for all of us. And I'm in a group chat with the seniors and every year, and they still send funny stuff that happened, last year. And it was a really cool moment for everybody involved.
When you get into those crunch time moments in close games at the high school level, what have you noticed? And maybe there's nothing that's, can be duplicated, but what have you noticed is key to making those plays at that high school level? Have you noticed anything that stands out? Okay, this is why we were able to execute.
Man, it's a great question. I would just say the more time that you spend around a group of kids, I think you find which ones are truthfully just bought into doing everything that you ask. And so I mentioned that a couple of times. We had that really good group of seniors last year, and very unselfish. We had a lot of kids that could have been troublemakers for us in terms of maybe not seeing the ball as much as they would like or doing things, other things. And it was never about that for them. It was, they wanted to win at all costs and do it whatever was asked of them in whatever capacity that they could help the team. And so I think when you have some kids like that, it just makes it really, really special. I think we went through some humbling moments throughout the year. We lost early to Cheney pretty bad. I mean, it wasn't ever close, and we had a pretty disappointing loss and had to go through that week one. And then you battled through a couple of league games, and then we played Scott City and played really bad on offense and had another humbling learning experience. And so I think it's a mix of having really good kids, buying into it and being unselfish. I think, having the right idea of we're going to try to help the team and be as best as we can for our group of kids. And I know that's kind of a vague statement, but I truthfully believe it made those special moments.
When you get into those rock fights and then you're going into the fourth quarter in a tight game, whether you're down or you're up, what have you noticed as far as your coaching philosophy? Are you going to go, like, as far as your playbook, are you going to start leaning on the plays that have been successful already in the game? Or are you trying to find something different, but maybe, hey, this defense hasn't seen as far as how you can move and execute?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both. We usually try to start the drive with something that they haven't seen before in terms of whether it's just a formation or a motion or things like that. I think everybody has kind of a base set of scheme plays that they're going to stick to. And so that was something in the middle of the year that we had made a decision as coaching staff. We had to get better at something. And so we went to war with what we call tank. It was a tackle trap deal. And we went to war with our next few practices of getting a lot better at what we call tank. And down the stretch, you try to run with things that your kids are comfortable with and put the ball in your better kids' hands and let them be athletes for a reason.
By the time you get to that point in the playoffs, Coach, like, how many plays are available, at least for Holcomb?
No.
Because there's a point, I guess, of maybe expanding the playbook too much or try to keep things simple, but about how many plays are available at that point of the season?
Yeah, wow. They give me a really hard time for this one. We're a spread offense, and we use a lot of formations and motions. And so the verbiage sometimes becomes a little bit too long. But I think one of our players counted when we played, I don't remember exactly who it was, but I think there was about 600 different possibilities of us running a play on the call sheet. And so we have always probably been overboard on how much we do. We've actually tried to slim back this summer and thought that we have always probably been overboard. So for us, man, that's funny that you bring that up. They give me a really hard time for some of that stuff.
Well, as far as formations, how many plays do you want in a specific formation? So that way, okay, hey, if we line up in this formation, they know exactly what play it is going to be. But if we have, 9 or 10 different plays out of that same formation, how important is that for you and Holcomb?
Yeah, for us, it's every formation almost we can run every single base run play that we have out of it. And so we go to war with a couple inside run plays, a couple outside run plays, and then we do a short pass game, a screen game. We call it a 50 game, a little bit longer, and then we have a pretty nice series of sprint outs. And so all of it. I mean, there's times that we'll run sprint outs out of every single formation. We'll run plays out of every single formation. They all have their own little twists to it and things like that. And we're a little bit different with how we call things, colors, our formations. And so we're a little bit different in terms of what that looks like. But we'll run zone to death, and we'll do it out of every single run, out of every single formation.
Coach, appreciate the information and your time, and best of luck this season.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, and really appreciate you getting this going. I think it'll take off. I think this is going to be a pretty neat deal. So thanks for having me on.
We'll be following the Longhorns. Appreciate it. That's Trey Teeter, head coach of the Holcomb football team. We'll take a break. More Kansas Sports Chatter right after this.
Referees and game officials are a vital part of high school athletics. These men and women take time out of their lives to ensure a safe and fair environment for student athletes. As you attend sporting events this year, keep in mind the hard work and dedication of the officials. Respecting officials and authority figures is one of the most valuable lessons that we can teach our students. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who take the time to officiate our competitions.
Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter as we continue on, and now with our Unbreakable Kansas Records segment. Now, we all know nothing's impossible, and any record is meant to be broken, but these are kind of going to highlight a record that might be maybe on the verge of impossible, or at least a really tough one to break, and something that stands out. And again, to help us with this segment, Jeff Bollig, with the Vice President of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame, joining us. Jeff, appreciate the time, and we got a good one here today to talk about one of the tougher records out there, not only in the state of Kansas, but a guy that's one of the most decorated tracksters in the entire country, maybe the world, especially at his time in the 1960s, Jim Ryan. You talk about one of the greats. We got one here today.
Right. Well, it's amazing when you think about it. How would you like to be a runner in Kansas in the 60s and 70s? And you look across, and Jim Ryan's right there getting ready to run. And the thing about it is Kansas, and especially the small Kansas schools, Emporia, Pittsburgh, Fort Hays. I'll put a plug in for John Mason, who was one of the top 3 milers, won the World University Games in 1968. But you have Jim Ryan sitting right there, and those guys who ran in those smaller schools didn't get the credit they deserve because they were excellent. But you look back at Jim Ryan, and he was named Sports Illustrated's high school athletes of all time. He surpassed LeBron and Tiger. How about that?
Wow.
He was on Sports Illustrated's cover 7 times. I believe that's the most of any track athlete at this point. And just to think that he was not a good athlete, or really maybe he wasn't an accomplished athlete because he got cut from various teams in high school. And it wasn't until his coach, Bob Timmons, got a hold of him, and they started working out a training program, and he just blossomed. And to think that he set all these records as a high schooler. I am not a track guru. I enjoy the sport, maybe because I wasn't any good at it. But I will say one thing I love to do is go back on YouTube and search for Jim Ryan races. And you can find them. And a lot of the records were set in the summers in AAU competition in Modesto, California, or Oregon, or Bakersfield, California. And the quality of the video isn't great, but the excitement and the competition of these old black and white videos is amazing. I would encourage people, if they're bored someday, maybe when the snow's flying, just Google Jim Ryan and races and just see some of those amazing races. He sets a mile record beating New Zealand's Peterson, who was the Olympic champion, and Jim's in high school. So just a tremendous athlete. I mean, we started off at the top, Cole. I will tell you that right now. I mean, if there are some records that may not be broken, we might as well start with Jim Ryan. So we got out of the gate easy.
Yeah, that's a good one to start with. I mean, you just talk about the crowds that he brought. I mean, you can go on to his Olympic career, but just, at Wichita East, like people like to come out and see that. I mean, we talk about the mile, and then, now officially the 1600, but 3:53.7, just insane. And I feel like track, Jeff, over the years has kind of gone up and down with guys kind of pushing toward that 4-minute mark. But then you got, decades that they don't even sniff that type of mark. So an impressive record back in the 60s.
Well, you think, he ran on cinder, he ran on dirt. I mean, he didn't have the training, support in terms of nutrition, science, medicine. You just think of all the advantages that they have today compared to now, and they're nowhere close to beating his record. So that's the thing that, usually records are made to be broken. I don't know if this one was made to be broken. I hope this show goes on forever, and the day we do it, we come back on and talk about it, because that person will be amazing.
Hey, Jeff, appreciate the time, and we will talk to you next month.
Okay, great. Thanks.
That is Jeff Bollig joining us here, the Vice President of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame Board of Directors, and that'll do it for our Unbreakable Records. Make sure you connect with Kansas Sports Chatter on YouTube.
Whether it's a Friday night football game or a Saturday Scholars Bowl tournament, there are many people behind the scenes to make these activities function. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who make these events happen for our students. Without school administrators, event workers, custodians, officials, transportation personnel, and office staff, these events would not be possible. Your hard work and dedication allow students throughout the state to participate in the activities that they love.
It's time now for football chatter, and our guest today is going to be Chet Kuplen, the CEO of Sports in Kansas. Chet, appreciate you jumping on, and I know you guys have been really busy with Sports in Kansas. Love all the posts that you guys had on social media about recapping the 2024 season and some of those favorite moments, and also some of the best stories. So I'll put you on the spot right now before we start to look ahead for the upcoming season. What was one of your favorite moments of 2024?
Wow, that's really tough. If we're talking annual 2024-2025 school year, there are so many fantastic moments, and hopefully we captured a lot of those across the state of Kansas. I know Mackenzie Weller has worked really hard on our team to put out a lot of those different things that you see across all of our channels, across all of our platforms. To me, maybe I'm going to be biased. I'm from Frontenac, Kansas, from the 2024-2025 school year. One of my good friends from high school, and Cassie Rooms, getting her 5th state title at Frontenac, and the domination that they had in softball season. Lost a 1-run game this year to Wamego. We all know about Wamego, obviously. They had an injury that had other plans for their postseason with Hardenberger this year, but that was their only loss in a game that was called early on. I thought that was fantastic with all of the pressure going on, and I just think that the pure talent that we saw in high school football this year, I thought was amazing. We had our top 11 event in 2024, December of 2024, at Butler Community College, and NWACS, the tight ends, the 5-star guys, and Lincoln Cure, and seeing those type of athletes that you covered. I met Lincoln Cure as a sophomore in high school. Chase Topliff, a good buddy of mine out there that has done some radio work, a football coach, said, hey, this kid could potentially be a prospect. And this is when he was a sophomore, and he was maybe 180 pounds, soaking wet at the time. And I thought, oh yeah, maybe, he's more of a basketball player, we thought at the time. And he comes to a combine that spring, and I got to meet him for the first time and talk to him. And at the time I thought, man, this kid's got a shot. Maybe he's going to be an FCS, FBS type kid. And then all of a sudden he comes out for track, and he's running in the 14s in hurdles, and he gains, about 20 pounds from the last time I see him, another inch. And I made a comment on a broadcast a few years ago that I have no idea why Lincoln Cure, out of lane number 4 of Goodland, Kansas, has no Division I football offers. I'm just trying to get KU State, right? I'm not taking credit for the kid being 6'6", whatever. And still begging staff from those places. And once on our statewide TV broadcast of state track and field, they saw it. You could kind of see what you had. And the next thing you know, guess what? He is the highest signee ever in the history of the Kansas State program. I'm not taking credit for any means by that, but it's kind of cool to see things develop of people that you followed from freshman, sophomore, to see where they're at now. I should have got in as his agent though, because his NIL deal was a pretty big deal. So that's one of my favorite moments of seeing some of those guys that you covered. But there are so many that you could go across and see all these legendary stories. I think the Gabe Pyle story at state basketball this year and all the game winners that he had, and really to put an exclamation mark on that family in basketball, 3 players of the year in that family that are all brothers. Wow. 3 of the 4 brothers, and then Grace takes her team to the Final Four this year for Pittsburgh State in basketball. So I thought that was absolutely awesome. And then all the state track moments we had, that's probably the most iconic thing last year. It has to be a record. Over 40 state records at state track and field this year. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. It's incredible. And getting to call those on live TV with Cameron Burney this past year was absolutely awesome at state track to see 1A through 6A. I'm a football guy first and foremost, but the state track and field meet, if you've not been to one, 20,000 plus spectators, 3,000 plus athletes.
1A through 6A, boys and girls all lining it up. That's absolutely incredible. And I think that I can't really answer one thing, but those are the things to me that just absolutely jump off the page. I'm going to get a lot of tweets for something that I forgot, as I do all day, every day. But we appreciate all of our followers. Appreciate for you having me on. I know years ago we had a show that I came on every Friday in Great Bend in the fall. That was always awesome. You do a spectacular job, and I think it's awesome what you got going on here with Football Chatter in the state of Kansas, Kansas Sports Chatter. So excited to be one of your very first guests.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Obviously, the knowledge really strong with you guys, and love everything that you do, and just a powerhouse. So for you, now going forward, we'll go to fast forward to 2025. Give me 2 or 3 guys or teams that you're really looking forward to this year for the football season, Chet.
Well, I obviously always look at those small school players first and foremost, because I think that the small school kids in Kansas often get overlooked. Now, that's not the case so much anymore. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe over the last 4 seasons, maybe going to 5, we have 5 Division I football players in the state of Kansas from the 8-man ranks. And a couple of those guys could be starters this year, with Tanner Heckel, a kid that is now at Illinois from Linden High School, and his 76 touchdowns, whatever that he had a few years ago. Jet Vincent's going to be a starting defensive back out of Wheatland Grinnell / Canton Galva. And of course, several other guys as well. Brandon Schmelsley in the career that he had, and Eli Brocksterman. The biggest question mark for me in 8-man Division II, can Axtell stay on top? They lost a lot of key players. However, I have been to that town multiple times. I know people from that town. I know brothers and sisters that are coming up from these families, and I always joke, there's only 4 or 5 last names in Axtell Hanover, right? And they're all good in every single thing they do. The biggest question mark is, can they repeat in that classification? I think that they potentially can. They have won 52 football games in a row. Yes, their star power is gone, but I'm telling you, even if they lose some of that star power from a year ago, I think that they still have enough to be that team at the top. Now, there's going to be other contenders there. Certainly, looking elsewhere, you look at programs in 1A, 2A, 3A. I think in Class 2A, there are some really good teams. We saw that in the postseason last year. Nemaha Central finally upended in the state championship game by Southeast Saline. Well, guess what? Southeast Saline has just about everybody back. Now, Nemaha loses some key players, but the Height kid is as good as anybody. And I'm not talking just 2A. He is as good as anybody in the state of Kansas. A high school Brian Shea. I know I'm dating myself right there by saying that, but the kid is the real deal. Really has an opportunity to be a top 11 football player. He's been the back-to-back 2A football player of the year. In 3A, Andell back on top after Cheney took it away from them for a year. Where will Cheney be with the graduation of Josh Burdick? They were a little bit down from obviously the state championship year. Andell wasn't down at all. Now, they do graduate some very, very key talent from last year. They do have one of the Hart brothers back. But I'm telling you, I've been at those practices. I've been in that weight room. When you have 80 to 90 kids out, and another one of those common themes, 4 or 5 last names in that town that are all good in everything they do in multiple sports, I think they can be that team. Andover Central shocked the world last year in Class 4A. They were very, very good. Very, very balanced. They had good receivers, good running backs, good quarterbacks, good defensive backs. The problem is the majority of that is gone and off to college. Bishop Miege, down year. However, Bishop Miege can have a down year and still have a bad record in the Eastern Kansas League and their out-of-state schedule. The biggest question mark will be, who is going to be that champion in Class 4A? Aquinas is back up to 5A. Can Miege get back on top? It had been a private school from 2014 to 2023 that had won it. It was Buhler in 2013. And this past year, obviously, Andover Central became that team. In Class 5A, right there where you're located locally, I think the Great Bend Panthers have some business to take care of. They got upset. I don't want to necessarily say upset because Hayes was a good team. They got upset in basketball, probably had a bitter taste in their mouth. And then you look at football. Everybody probably had them being that team last year. I was one of those people that thought the WAC was maybe a pretender for a while based on just people not getting deep into the postseason. It had been a long time. No longer do I think that the WAC is a pretender. Ian Premer is as good as it comes. Daxton Minton, Trenton Kern, you go across the board. They are absolutely loaded. Hayes High Indians are loaded too, though. Yeah. Western Athletic Conference. And you can look at the 5A West. The biggest question mark will be, where will Goddard Eisenhower be where they were from last year. They're a very good team, but lost Carter Papps, lost their stud quarterback from last year. I think that there are a handful to 10 contenders over there. But right now, Great Bend and Hayes, I think the road goes through the WAC on the 5A West. Now, only bad news is you got to play the defending state champions.
That's
that
tough.
Returns about everybody. I mean, St. Thomas Aquinas is just absolutely loaded. So I think we got to look at them. And then will Derby be a team in Class 6A? Manhattan, Gardner, Edgerton, the powerhouse they have. They lose Braven Powell Brown from last year, our Sports in Kansas Player of the Year. A lot of question marks across the entire state of Kansas to really see where we'll be at. Last year, I think the Hayes High Indians surprised a lot of people because all the hype on Hayes for years was, Jaron Canick and all the guys that they had on this team. Well, sure enough, it was the teams after them. Those guys laid the foundation, but the teams after them are the guys that got there. But can that be that Great Bend team that has so many athletes? If it's going to be that Great Bend team, has to be this year to me. But you're chasing St. Thomas Aquinas. In my opinion, no disrespect to anybody else, number one team in all of Kansas, any classifications returning this year, St. Thomas Aquinas. They have 2 top 11 players back this year that were juniors last year, and a lot more talent than that. And they only play players one way. So Randy Dreiling has done the unthinkable, rebuilding the Hutch program, and then coming over to St. Thomas Aquinas where he's won 3. So I think it obviously on the West goes through the WAC, but you look at St. Thomas Aquinas, they're my top team.
Chet, always appreciate your time and keep up the good work. Love all the content you guys got going out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
Well, I appreciate it. Sorry, I'm sweating a little bit. I had to do a little bit of yard work.
Hey, you're a busy man.
My wife didn't tell me that the landscape company was coming today. And today was supposed to be her day off, but she went to work, and we got landscapers outside all over the place. The dogs barking. I'm sweating as I should be because I'm out of shape. But looking forward to the high school football season. Follow all of our stuff at Sports in Kansas, powered by Mammoth Sports Construction across all of our platforms in Watco. A lot of content going out across the state. We have 6 reporters now, kind of crazy. We used to have 1 or 2, and now we got 6 reporters across the state doing stuff. We'll have our radio shows, content, a lot of stuff coming up across the state. Love what you're doing in promoting high school sports, and as always, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate you.
That's Chet Kuplen, the CEO of Sports in Kansas. Like you said, so much great content. Check him out on social media with Sports in Kansas. Stick with us. We'll have our next level talent after this.
Being hydrated is essential for performing at your best. Remember to drink plenty of water before, during, and after practice or games. Fuel your body with hydration, balanced meals, and rest to recover and stay fit. Staying healthy means you maintain your strength and continue performing at your best. Hydrate your way to success.
Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It is time now for Next Level Talent, where we get to talk to former Kansas high school athletes that are now competing at a college or a university in the state of Kansas. Today, we go out to El Dorado to talk with Isabel Sandoval. Izzy Sandoval joining us here, and a member of the Butler soccer team and out of Newton High School. Izzy, appreciate your time and jumping on the show. For you, what's college life in El Dorado right now this time of the year?
Preseason is very hard. It's a lot of running, a lot of getting back into it, playing a lot of different teams, and we're just spending a lot of time together as a team right now. And our first day of school was actually yesterday, so we're just now getting back into our education. So yeah.
Go back to the Newton High School a couple of years ago, Izzy. What do you remember about Newton and playing with that program?
I remember that at first it was a little rough. My first couple of seasons with them, we lost a bunch of games, but as my seasons continued, we actually got a lot better, and we were a contender in my junior year. And yeah, it was really nice to play with a lot of girls I grew up with, and it was like a family. It was really, really fun. Yeah.
At what point in Newton did you realize, hey, I'm pretty good at this soccer thing and I can go play at the collegiate level?
That would probably have to have been when I was chose to be a captain. I was really excited for that. And I was thinking, I actually really like this. I think I could continue to do this. And this is something that I want to be a part of. I have to give a huge credit to my teammates at the time. They made it really enjoyable for me. And I just thought in my head that I really wanted to continue this.
Anything that stands out in your time at Newton that you learned playing soccer there that you've kind of carried forward to have the success that you've had at the collegiate level now?
Yeah, it would honestly have to be, when you're losing a bunch of games, to just keep your head up and keep going strong. Even though our first couple of years there weren't the best, I stuck with it, and we saw improvement, and that was really nice to see. And that was success for me, was having our team play better and win more games. So, yeah.
How tough was that adversity? You talk about, trying to push through, but what kind of got you through that and eventually on the other side?
Just having the support from my other teammates got me through that. I said I grew up with a bunch of those girls, and I didn't want to let them down. I don't think they wanted to let me down. And I think together we had each other's back, and I knew that for them, I needed to be strong and keep my head up all the time. And that's what ultimately got us success.
Any specific highlights that stand out to you that you remember that maybe is even an individual play or just a play that you remember from Newton?
I scored, I think, the first time we had scored on May South for a while, for a couple of years, the whole time I'd been there. We scored first, and I think it was a right-footed shot, and it bounced off of the post and went in. And that was really great because nobody was expecting us to do that. And we scored for the first time on them in first. And so that play really sticks out to me.
How many times have you watched that highlight?
I've watched it several times. That was a really good feeling when we scored for the first time.
All right, now in El Dorado at Butler Community College. Why Butler? What was the recruiting process like for you? Obviously close to home, but what went into you choosing Butler?
So I actually played for Coach Hunter for a couple of years prior to college. I was on his club team, and I had a really good connection with him. And I thought, I have a really good connection with his coach. He knows me, and I think it would be a really good fit. Another plus was that a lot of my club teammates were also going to Butler, and so I got to go to college with my friends.
For you, there's got to be some obvious differences from that high school level to college level as far as competition is concerned. Anything else that stood out to you when you first arrived at Butler, just the differences from competing at high school and college?
Yeah, so it's actually a lot more skilled. You see a lot of technical players, and the game is a lot faster. It's just increasingly faster and definitely more physical. These are the girls that are very competitive, technical. And so, with high school, you kind of got a mix of people doing it for fun or just to stay in shape. And that's not what it's like in college at all. They're very serious about it in college.
Izzy, appreciate your time and best of luck this year.
Thank you so much.
That is Izzy Sandoval joining us from Butler Soccer with next level talents and out of Newton High School. We'll take a break. More of the show right after this.
Come join the chatter. Kansas Sports Chatter. Make sure to subscribe and like on YouTube and wherever you download your podcast.
That'll put the finishing touches on another episode of Kansas Sports Chatter. Make sure you write to all of your legislators and your state officials. We're going to make that movement going for an extended Labor Day. So, if 3-day weekend is nice, but to truly honor American labor, you need more days off in the week than you actually have to work. So now it's 4-3 against us. We need 4 days off, 3 days work. Send those letters in to your legislators and state officials. I think they can gain some movement. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube. That way you don't miss any of the content that'll be coming out on the YouTube channel. Also, business owners, if you want to promote your business on the chatter, you can reach out about advertising opportunities at ksportschatter@gmail.com. That slide of contact information is coming up shortly. Thanks for joining us. We will talk to you soon on Kansas Sports Chatter.